Hey guys, I'm in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, doing some mountain biking, looking at some awesome electric bikes, and I found these guys from Magura. So
imagine.
Yeah, right, just out on the trail, and look at this stash of awesome goodies. You know, I'm seeing brakes on all the different bikes I review, and I often don't know exactly how to place them. It's like, okay, it's a dual piston, quad piston, that's better, bigger rotor, more control. These guys are experts in this. And so we've got Stefan from Germany, and we've got Jude from the US. And you guys are, I was hoping you could just kind of walk me through, maybe starting with some of the e-bike stuff.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. Stefan, you start with the e-bike stuff.
Okay, I start with the e-bike stuff then. Okay, good. So we have got really some nice e-bike brakes. These are brakes that can be used on e-bikes, but they're also being used on normal mountain bikes.
Okay.
So showing that if they can use, can get rid with the extra forces e-bikes generate.
And like, the weight, yeah.
And the weight, the extra weight, the high average speed. These are also good for normal mountain bikes.
Okay.
And so we have got some specific brakes there, especially our MT4 and MT5.
Okay.
These two brakes. These brakes differ in the calipers. You see here, MT5 has got the piston with the or the caliper with the 4 pistons. MT2 has got the piston with the caliper with the 2 pistons.
And this one seems larger. Is that true, or?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, because on hydraulics you have to work with different ratios also. It's the hydraulic ratio and the mechanical ratio.
Okay.
And in order to have a bigger piston surface on the caliper, we could go for 2 pistons that are really big, or we could go for 4 pistons.
Okay.
So the piston surface, which is really important for the power of the brake, is about 30% bigger on the 4-piston brake than on the 2-piston brake. Okay. Thus, the brake with a 4-piston generates more power and all with the same braking power with less hand force.
Okay. And it dissipates the heat a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's one of the big advantages of our brakes. Our calipers are rather heavy. So weight in the caliper always means heat resistance. So the higher the weight in the caliper, so the higher the heat resistance is.
Interesting.
So we put a lot of weight in the calipers in order to get a lot of heat resistance, but we are saving weight on the complete brake with using our special master cylinder material, which is called Carbotexture.
Okay.
Carbotexture is own material. We produce ourselves, we mold ourselves. And this makes the master cylinder really lightweight, but really good and sturdy. And this weight we are saving there, we can put into the caliper.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so, awesome. Good. And these look like adjustable reach too. That's something I'm always calling out.
Exactly. So this is MT4 and MT5. The masters are identical. They've just got a different print. Here on the other side, you see the 5.
Oh yeah.
The 4 has got also the 4.
Yeah, it looks like a J or something, like 4J.
It's a 4.
It's 4? Is that the Germany thing?
If you look at it a certain way, it's J.
Yeah, well, cool.
So
Very
the
cool.
masters are identical, just different calipers. So 4-piston, 2-piston.
Okay, and that's the most common, you were saying.
This is the most common for e-bikes. But on the e-bike side, we could also use specific lever blades. You see here on this side, the lever blade with a switch inside. So we have got a cable coming out of that lever blade.
Seen that before, yeah.
And this is a 2-pole cable, or just 2 wires inside. So whenever you apply the brake, you can see here a small switch is being activated.
I hear it clicking. Where is that?
That's in between here.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, there's like a mini...
Yeah, so there's a mini switch inside.
Okay.
This switch generates a signal. And this signal is detected by the electronical unit from the motor or from the bike itself. And this can be transferred, this signal, into a motor stop. So whenever I apply the brake, the motor will stop immediately.
Yeah.
Or I can generate a light impulse, so the brake light goes on.
Okay, and I've seen this. So Bionics is a company that makes motors that can offer regeneration. They're the gearless direct drive hub motors. And you do need some sort of signal to tell it, hey, regen, you know, and that's a motor inhibitor that we're looking at.
That's it, yeah.
And then in the UK and in other parts of Europe, it seems like they have this ball, and then they have the light requirement for speed pedal X.
That's exactly, yeah. So that's the case. So you have to have a ball end lever blade. That's a requirement by law, as well as a brake light. And this is the option we offer for these brakes.
That's cool.
So these lever blades can be retrofitted also on other MT4s and 5s. So just replacing the lever blade then you can make or generate from MT4, MT5 brake, MT4e for e-bike applications, or MT5e for e-bike applications.
Interesting. And I have seen lights like the Bush & Mueller Top Light Mini, or I'm used to seeing a bunch of lights, but some of them do have that bright activation. So
exactly.
This is back to maybe working with your shop and doing some retrofitting. That's cool.
Yep.
And are these motor inhibitor options available for left and right brake levers?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
As our brake masters are flip-flop, you can put them either right or left side.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really easy, so they are symmetrical. So just by unplugging the clamp here on this side, putting the master on the other side, and putting the clamp in the right direction, so you can see the Magura logo really facing really upwards.
That's right.
And that's easy. So even flipping afterwards, that's really easy.
Okay, well, yeah, let's dash through some of the other ones here. That was, thank you for focusing.
Jude now.
Let's do it, Jude.
So we have a long history in mountain bikes. In fact, 1985, Stefan, 86, I think our first.
1987.
87 officially our first hydraulic brake for the mountain bike world. So
Cool.
we were the first in that world, and we've been innovators and leaders in technology. So
I've heard Ducati. I mean, you do brakes for like.
we've done some handlebars for Ducati, but we do all of BMW motorcycles controls on the handlebars. Their brake and clutch master cylinders, their handlebar, their grips.
So you're high performance.
Absolutely.
With higher speed and higher weight than e-bikes, even. Yeah.
History of high performance. And
Excellent.
So some of our mountain bike specific, which do cross over in the e-bike side. This is our MT7, kind of the flagship. Not really. We have an MT8, which is our cross-country flagship brake, but this is uses the same master cylinder. Stefan talked about the Carbotexture. This is even a step up. This is called Carbotexture SL.
Okay.
So it's a lighter, more controlled process than the other master cylinder, which yields a lighter and stronger, but lighter being key for the mountain bike, since it's only human powered. It's so particular about weights and usage of materials. So that's another step up. It offers some other features and adjustability too, in addition, that the other Carbotexture master cylinder doesn't. So it's a step up.
Can I ask a question about?
Sure.
Okay, so you mentioned the MT7 flagship, and then you said, well, we have the MT8.
Yeah.
And earlier we were talking about the dual piston versus the quad piston. You said our odd numbers are like
so
quad.
it's easy to remember. It's 2, 4, 6, 8 are all twin piston brakes.
Okay.
And our odd numbers 5 and 7, MT5 and MT7, are our quad piston brakes.
So those are top of the line. The 7 and the 8. Those are like.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the reason being, they use the same high-end, most lightest master cylinder body. We'll change it out with lever blades. This one uses an alloy 2-finger blade. The MT8 uses a carbon blade.
Oh wow!
Like
look at
this
that.
one, so
And you said
see.
cross country, so you're trying to get as light as possible.
Yeah, exactly. This one actually here is a perfect example of that.
Oh wow!
This is our new Raceline MT8.
That's beautiful.
Uses a twin piston caliper. You can see it's still quite a beefy twin piston caliper. Like Stefan said, it's important. Its most important role is to stay stiff and deal with heat, so a heat sink. And so, but we put all our weight into the twin piston caliper, and the master cylinder is so light that it keeps the weight actually at 299 grams.
Wow.
That includes the rotor, the hardware, the bolts that mount it to, so that's a very light, very powerful, and very dependable hydraulic brake.
It is interesting, in my experience I was always like, well, I guess more pistons are better, but in this case, because the I guess the caliper housing, that's part of the heavier component, it's like, okay, in this case we do dual piston to lighten it up a little bit.
And you recall, we talked about, you said this one looked larger than that other one. The piston sizes here are larger than the quad pistons, for a twin piston, it has quite a lot of power. Okay.
And while we're on the subject, do you have any quick tips? I was told not to touch the...
It's generally recommended not to touch for several reasons. Obviously, they get hot.
Yeah.
So, and they get hot real quick. Like in the parking lot, if you're dragging them, you'll raise the temperature pretty quickly.
Okay.
But, you want to keep your hand oils,
lotions,
dirty hands off. If you have a clean hand and it's cold and it's not a hot rotor, it's not going to be the end of the world, but you want to keep oils and contaminants off it for the best performance.
Okay. Any other quick tips? Just
Yes, watch your chain lubes and your cleaning supplies.
Oh.
Keep that stuff off this area because that will build up on your brake pads, and then that will cause really loud noises,
squealing,
and no friction or compromised friction. So so keep your detergents when you're cleaning the bike and your polishes to polish your bike. Be aware that you want to keep lubricants and all those fancy, nice, slick, shiny stuff off that.
Is there something specific you should use? Does Magura sell a cleaner?
Rubbing alcohol works very well. As isopropyl alcohol that you can buy at the drugstore. But yes, we make a product that you can spray on there, and its base is alcohol, and you want something that evaporates completely and doesn't leave a residue.
Thanks for the tips. I know I'm interrupting like the flow of this, but
it's okay. It's important information that you can utilize with e-bikes.
Want to maintain it. And the other thing, earlier we were talking about like the mineral oil that's in the brake lines. These hydraulic brakes. I was going to a shop and asking them, getting set up on my electric mountain bike, and I was like, hydraulic brakes seem so much better, and the shop attendant was like, yeah, actually they're not as difficult to service these days. Some people were worried about, are they going to freeze if I'm in really cold? Are they going to overheat? Can you speak to any of that?
Quite high performance components, no matter what brand, they're all very high performance. We in particular use a mineral-based fluid for our hydraulic medium. Its advantage is it doesn't absorb moisture, so it doesn't really deteriorate. All DOT fluids, Department of Transportation, all of them have a factor that they absorb moisture from the air. So humidity or any humidity in the air, any near proximity to water, that's a natural process. Mineral fluids do not absorb moisture, so the temperature is never compromised, the performance is never compromised.
Yeah.
It doesn't freeze, or it doesn't reduce the boiling performance.
That's good to know. I'm glad, because Colorado, I grew up there, it freezes, and I was like, oh, I hope my brakes work.
Well, that's true. I mean, at some point, the moisture that you've absorbed into your hydraulic fluid will affect performance, whether it's the heat that you're trying to avoid or really cold temperature.
How often do you recommend bleeding them and going into the shop?
For normal systems, it's recommended a year, or some get away with 2 years to bleed.
Okay.
We don't have anything official. Just know that mineral fluid is much more durable than DOT fluid. I've seen many years that I don't necessarily recommend that, but I've seen upwards of 5 or more years before servicing.
Really reliable. And then the levers, is that just a personal comfort thing, or do you recommend, is there like some?
We also use, and are unique in Magura, that we use a radial configured master piston path, and when you pull the lever blade, the master piston moves radially versus axially to the handlebar. And in that configuration, you have much more input on sensitivity to braking. It helps you have input, not the physics of the brakes and the compound of the brake pad.
I see.
You actually have control, and so you want that, especially with a powerful bike like an e-bike or a light bike like a mountain bike. You want to know where your adhesion levels are, at all times. So.
Okay. And I think I may have missed, I was trying to figure out if there was any quick and dirty advice you had about adjusting reach.
Yeah, absolutely. We have reach adjust here. In this case, it's a 3mm Allen, but we do have options with toolless.
Yeah, those are cool. You get the little screw.
Little knobs there.
That's neat.
That's an option when you buy the brake, or you can upgrade a lot of the time. So
Okay.
Just change it out. But yeah, you have quite a lot of adjustability in this lever blade. This one is out as far as it goes, so for some smaller hands it's not as pleasant, but I can pull it into about here and just show you that that's about where you can, the starting point when you adjust that lever, so it's quite a bit.
And that's also, I've noticed sometimes on brakes, I think mechanical brakes are just cheaper ones, where I've squeezed in so far that it like crunched my other fingers under the lever, and so it's nice that you have a range to work with here.
Yeah, you should have quite a bit of adjustability, but crushing your knuckles is never
fun. No, it's not. So we've looked at some of the brake. Do you have anything else to say about the brakes? Because I know you've got some other cool toys here too.
Well, we came out with this brake. This was a new introduction. This is called the trail brake. This in particular is the Trail Sport, and what we do this for a mountain bike is we combine the power of the 4-piston quad piston caliper up front, where you have traction typically, where you can really have braking, stopping power with your front tire.
Yeah.
The weight shows. And we have a twin piston in the rear, where it's more of a modulation scenario, where you're just controlling the rear wheel. Once you start braking and the bike unloads the weight of the rear tire, you don't have a lot of traction, so you don't need a lot of power.
Yeah.
But you just need a lot of feel on when that lockup point is. heads and just stay shy of that, of course.
Yeah.
If you're a brake dragger or you have a lot more bike and mass to control, the 4-piston comes in handy there because it can take the abuse of dragging and, you know, more speeds. And
that's cool. So you're mixing it up. 2 pistons up, or 4
so
pistons up front, 2 pistons in the rear.
We have an upper scale version of this too, with carbon blade and Carbotexture SL body and all that, but this is our new sport trail, and it's been pretty well received already. This is the more affordable option to the carbon model.
Well, it makes sense. You get maybe a little bit of weight savings with the dual piston in the rear. You get some cost savings.
That's the idea.
But you get most of the braking power, I've been told. I'm learning, right? But you see on some electric mountain bikes, they'll have like 180 millimeter rotor up front and 160 in the rear, or 203 180. So this is the same thing, like more braking power up front and more precision.
Power, and with rotors, you have more heat control. The larger the rotor, the more it can dissipate heat too.
Cool. It's new to me. That's cool. Thanks, Jude.
But it is a leverage increase too with the larger rotor. So more power.
Awesome. Did we cover most of these?
I think we wanted to talk about our seat post.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that's a remote controlled wireless.
Yeah. Electronic dropper.
Yeah.
Let's go over there. So this was on the KTM Messina, or is that on the?
It's right here, in fact.
That's right.
Stefan, you want to talk about it?
Okay. So this is our Viron dropper post. The Viron dropper post is actuated with a remote. This is a wireless remote, and
so you have to turn it on.
You have to turn it on.
To wake it up.
Wake it up. I have to wake it up just by moving.
Really? It has like an accelerometer in there?
Sure, yeah.
Whoa.
So this accelerometer, whatever it's called in English, right?
Yeah, you got it. They were very close.
Okay. This detects movement of the bike, so it wakes up the remote, the seat post itself, whenever you're making a pause, brake or whatever, and then wakes up in order to save battery energy during the time you're not using the bike.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
So so we've got really a nice wireless system here. So I can take off this remote unit from the handlebar. You see there's no wire on. Just pressing here a short press. Look, just pressing here, pushing down the seat post.
Oh, it's a pretty short delay too. It didn't.
Yeah, and then if I press again, now the seat post coming up.
Wow.
Again.
Cool.
And the big advantage is, especially on e-bikes, where you've got the motors inside the frame, with cable routing, with tubing routing for different seat posts on the market, installation is really a hassle. And that's a big advantage of a wireless system, that you just install the seat post. It's really plug and play. That's everything here. Yeah. Like a normal seat post.
Well, and does this come in a range? I saw 30.9 millimeters there.
Exactly. So this the seat post is available in 2 diameters, 30.9 as shown here, or 31.6.
Okay, pretty
These
standard.
These are the most standard seat posts on the market, or sizes, with 150 millimeters of travel.
Nice.
And
this must be the receiver. What's the rubber button thing here?
So
what's that?
Below the rubber button you can see there's an on-off switch.
Oh.
To switch it on and off, and you see the charge plug. It's
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a micro USB charge plug.
It's rechargeable.
It's rechargeable, that's right. So it takes about 3 hours recharging the battery.
Okay.
And you get about 400 activations out of one charge.
Wow.
That's which, for me, mountain biking, riding 2 or more times a week, I get about 3 months.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Is the battery replaceable if and when you ever, like, it wears out or something?
So when the battery goes towards zero, there's like not a fail mode, but a safe, how do you call it? Fail-safe mode? Safety mode. So then the connection, the wireless connection dies. You cannot activate the seat post anymore.
Okay.
But if you still want to get home, you have got the possibility to just press here on this white button, and the red light will go on.
Oh.
And then you still can change the height of the seat post. I would
more like
press
manually.
It now.
Yeah.
So this is with a certain delay. So now I can change it. So I'm on top of the hill. Okay, I'm just rolling down. So I will lower the saddle while I reach the bottom of the hill. and want to go home with a good elevated seat position, so just pressing
Sweet.
there and I still can get home.
How much is this Viron seat post dropper? Do you guys know? Is that
It's $399, I believe.
It's
is
not
what
bad.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not but I think we stayed right under $400.
just recently? So we're at press camp in Sedona, and there's some really hardcore cyclists here, and they're like, man, you need a seat post dropper. That's a requirement. So there are a lot of electric mountain bikes. Maybe someone got one from a couple years ago. It doesn't have a dropper, and this is going to be easy to install.
Going to evolve or going to transition from a mountain bike to an e-bike, which I see that happening.
Yeah.
As we just transition to do that.
Yeah.
They're going to want a dropper post because it's become a standard, almost a standard item to have. Really.
It's a good option, and with this one, you could probably swap this between bikes very quickly.
Easy.
You know, like you said, the installation's easy.
Well, for me, I have an e-bike and a mountain bike, and I don't have to have invest in two of them. I can just easily swap it back and forth, as long as the seat post sizes are the same.
Yeah.
So
That's the key. Or you get one of those, what are those called?
a shim.
A shim. Yeah, they've got
We don't
those.
necessarily have one, but
Amazon has them, bike shops have them. People will find it. So there's this other, I see there's like, are we good with this? I wanted to make sure I didn't, it seems a pretty cool product, and it looks like it can go on the left or the right, so
That's
depending
right.
on your
Can be
cockpit
flip-flopped.
setup.
Yeah, right. So,
And I've even seen one that had arrows, so it's not just a big button, there's arrows for like locking out your suspension.
yeah, right. That's right. So this remote we're using here is also good for our suspension systems. So we have got forks and rear shocks, which can be also controlled wireless. So pressing the front button, the lockout.
That's sweet.
So pressing the front arrow would be locking out your fork. Pressing the rear arrow would be locking out your rear shock. And pressing the middle button is locking or activating your seat post.
Cool.
And if you're just using the seat post, you can use our new remote cover, which just slides over the remote, clicks in well here from the rear side, and then when you press wherever on this big pedal here, you can activate the seat post.
There we go.
And
Yeah.
here we go. Oh, that was too fast. I will just press it again. And there we go.
And it looks like this isn't stepped, so it's kind of like anywhere you want.
That's it, yeah.
That's
So
nice too.
Yeah, you can adjust it anywhere in between 0 and 150 millimeters.
Okay, sweet. So let's move to the suspension over here. Speaking of that, is this one compatible with the wireless, or is this?
This is not compatible with the wireless because this is a really e-mountain bike fork. So
Okay.
why it's an e-mountain bike fork? So normally when you're riding e-bike, you want to have an active suspension wherever you go to. So not only on the downhills, but also on the uphills, because you're really fast also on the uphills. You want to have a really active suspension.
Yeah.
So you will not find a lockout, anything like this on this fork here, which is normally placed here on the...
Yeah, there's usually a clicker,
Right,
like
yeah.
rebound or
Yeah,
compression
right.
or something.
That's not there, because exactly that you want to have an active suspension everywhere, and you're not really pounding out of the saddle, sprinting or so.
Yeah.
So when you really want to go faster, just click to sport or whatever mode, a little bit higher, then you just can ride up the hill. Secondly, why e-bike specific? E-bikes are faster, are heavier than normal forks.
Yeah.
And if you really brake hard on a standard fork, this fork will deform also quite a bit, especially here on the on the crown side.
Yeah.
Because here the biggest force is applied to the fork because of the torque arm from the wheel downstairs.
Sure.
Further down. And we have got here the big diameters on the crown. That's why that's common on all upside down forks, and that makes the fork really stiff while braking.
That's really interesting. So, and this one also has, it looks like a 15 millimeter through axle.
No, this is a 20 millimeter through axle.
20 millimeter through
this
axle.
is
Oh my gosh.
20 by 100 millimeter, which is being used on downhill circuit for many years so far. And this is we are using an axle with an octagon on the ends, so it's clamped in the dropouts with this octagon in order to really have a form fit of the axle in the dropouts.
You just hang there for a minute. Is this the same thing right over here? I just wanted to, I feel like you could lift this up and point out the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, right, exactly. So this is fixed. We have got
and there is so you do have a rebound clicker.
We have got, of course, a rebound. So the nice thing is, the axle itself is attached with tools. We have got a nice Torx T25 tool, which is included with the fork. So
cool. Magnetically.
That's magnetically held. You just pull it out. And I'm just taking off the the axle right now. So you can see the form fit. I just have to press it out here. What's up with here? Now I got it. Okay.
There we go.
So here we've got our axle. That is the 20mm through axle.
Yeah.
With the octagon at the end here. You see here.
Yeah.
So with this we've got a nice form fit in the dropouts, which makes the fork really stiff on the lower side. So we do not rely only on the press fit here from these two bolts, but also on the form. And the bigger the axle, the higher the torsional stiffness is. So we couldn't live with a 50mm axle. That's why we went to 20mm axle.
Wow. How does that impact the wheel, like, and the hub and everything else? Is that
so? The complete forces are being taken by the axle itself. So it really doesn't matter which hub you're using here. It has to be 20 by 110, not boost. That's,
right? Yeah, I know. Versus like 110 is a little bit wider. But these tires that we're running right here, look, these are 27.5 by 3, but I guess the rim isn't boost, so it's still, you just need a strong rim.
Yeah, the hub is not boost, so it's the hub which is not boost in this case. Although there's getting a new standard right now that was presented at Sedona with 110 or 20 by 110 in boost.
Oh.
But this is not compatible with boost.
Okay, so maybe in the future we'll see that, but for right now, yeah, 120.
So, and here you can see again how the tool is held with the magnet.
That's fun.
So that's really tight, and I pull it out, or this way. That's the magnet.
Cool, very cool, guys. Well,
So,
can I get another look at this? It's got the shielding, and so would you call this as like an inverted fork?
Upside down fork.
And it just bring less. I mean, what are the advantages to
Well,
this?
you have your larger tubes up here that are pressed into this beefy crown. So fore and aft under the braking is really where you're getting your stiffness increased.
Yeah.
So that's massive amount of stiffness compared to a conventional fork, which is configured like this.
Yeah.
So the upper forks on a conventional fork that are clamped into the crown are much smaller, so it's quite a bit.
That makes sense.
quite a bit
Sturdier,
different.
kind of going in the direction of the through axles and stuff, like just
So
stiffer.
in this case, braking is important because you have a 45-pound bike, doing 20 miles an hour
And that's what
repeatedly.
Stefan was saying, like you're not going to get the bend that
Right,
we were.
exactly.
Okay.
And the twisting,
Tapered.
so when it bends, it also wants to twist up, and so the axle and the stanchions keep it all from binding up under the brakes. Binding up meaning the bushings in here and it not letting it be supple still.
I've experienced that, yeah, where you're like braking, and because of that, there's like friction,
Twisting.
the
Yes, it
twisting and the
puts more
friction,
friction on
it
the
won't
bushings,
slide
and it's
vertically.
it's more resistance to sliding. Well, this is designed for that in mind with all this stiffness and axle action. So
That's cool.
It's
Thank you. Me and probably some of the people watching, I'm not quite as technical, so some of this is new to me, and it's neat to hear just the basic explanation of some of the benefits. Thank you for that, Jude.
Okay, one thing also on what we made special, you just mentioned the bushings. So we have got also two bushings here guiding the inner tube and the outer tube. So the lower bushing is a fixed bushing, and the upper bushing it's attached to the end of the inner tube. Inside here is a sliding bushing.
Oh.
So when you compress the fork,
Which would be a lot of, wow.
Fork, the overlap of the bushing is increasing, and you're increasing.
It's getting more stiffness. Yeah, I see.
More stiffness also.
Huh.
And another nice detail is what you see here, WP. We have got also, we are partnering with WP. WP is the inventor of upside down forks in motocross.
Oh, cool.
They are owned by KTM motorbikes.
Hey, speaking of, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, right. So if you look on any KTM motorbike,
or
motocross
Husqvarna
machine, or Husqvarna, you will see WP forks. And these are the guys we partnered up in order to produce this really nice e-bike specific fork.
So how much is this?
So this is not intended for the aftermarket yet, because we just had some OE customers speccing it.
Yeah.
We are looking for this, so it might be on next autumn shows like Interbike or Eurobike. You will find.
Cool. We're getting an early look. Are there any bikes are going to have this that people could keep an eye out for?
KTMs are having them already, on some specific mountain bikes and high bikes also.
A high bike, yeah. Okay, great, guys.
Like this bike here, which you can see here.
Well, yeah, hey, there we go. That's a good point. This is the All Mountain 8.0. I was looking at this the other day in New York, and it's a pretty solid bike. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, really nice.
It's a nice
Seeing it
tubing guide
built
here,
in.
so it's zip tied.
Yeah, there's
to
a
the
lot of
lower-
nice details about that fork.
Yeah, nice zip tied here, tubing. tubing or the line from the brake to the lower protector. Here through a different guide also.
Wire management's a big deal, like on e-bikes where, yeah, you do have a few more wires floating around.
This does have rebound control, and then you can adjust your air pressure too. So,
Okay, so you can sag it to the right level.
exactly,
And then,
you can sag it. That air pressure valve is under here, and then under this fork over here is a red.
it's the rebound.
Yeah, so it has quite a bit of adjustability still.
Okay. Okay, and like you were saying on e-bikes, maybe people don't need to lock it out because you've got the efficiency of just having a motor, and a lot of people ride faster, so they don't want to. It's like you want the comfort.
A lot of e-bikers don't get out of the saddle and hammer, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really the biggest reason to be able to restrict your compression flow of fluid, to keep it from bouncing.
Okay.
So if you stay seated and pedal more, it's really not necessary.
Well, this has been a lot of fun looking at all the different products. I didn't realize there's quite a range here, and I especially feel like the seat post dropper is relevant to e-bikers, and that suspension is sweet, man. I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. Do you guys have any closing thoughts or?
No, we're excited about being involved with companies like Hi-Bike and KTM, of course, for our suspension and brakes, and. What else, Stefan?
Yeah, right. Well, we have got a nice share, especially in Europe, with e-bikes, which are much bigger than here in the US.
I know, I'm jealous. We always get the, at least it's making its way. We're getting more and more.
Okay.
Where can people learn more? What's your website?
Magura.com.
Just
You
Magura.com.
can pick the German flag for German or your international language, or US, of course, North American language. And it'll take you to proper
geolocated website.
Thank you very
yes,
much.
we got
so
it.
much.
We got it. Yeah, it's been we've had a bunch of fun riding, you guys. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you at the next event.
All right,
Great. Thank you.